Today, we're going to jump right into our topic, which has to do with perfectionism. This is something that is very near to my heart because I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist. I can go on and admit it. I call myself, I have a little monkish tendencies. If you've ever watched the show Monk, I'm not quite that bad. But what I have learned about perfectionism is that it has positives, but it definitely has some negatives as well. As you may or may not know, perfectionism means that there is no room for error in our life, and that it's extremely, sometimes unreasonably hard. We're extremely hard and unreasonable on ourselves and on others. Also, you can become depressed when you don't achieve whatever goal it is that you're trying to achieve. And it may not even be something big. It may be something very small. I know I have a problem when I go into a room and the picture is crooked and I'm like, oh, I should not be bothering their picture or this picture in the doctor's office or whatever. And before I know it, I'm up and trying to fix the picture. I don't know if you've ever had those kind of issues or not. But as I said, perfectionism can be good, but it also can be a hindrance to our success at times. And we're going to talk for the next few minutes about the pros and cons of perfectionism. Perfectionism, let's start with the cons first, is it can be a hindrance to you in the way that sometimes you feel overwhelmed because you're the only person that can do it, because in your head, you're the only one that can do it because you're the only one who can do it properly. Or you have that need to control everything, and it can be done right if I do it, or let me tell you how it needs to be done, and that this is the only way to do it, and outside of that, it is not done properly. I know as a child, my dad had a certain way that the bed had to be made. And it had to have no lines. It had to have a Cohen that could pop on it, all of these different things. And he had a certain way of making up the bed. And me being a smart aleck 10 or 11-year-old, I figured out how I could make the bed look the same way, but I didn't have to go through that process of how he did it. And he got very upset because he could bounce the quarter on the bed, but he knew that I had not made it up in the exact order that he made it up in. And at that time, that was just something funny to try to prove that I could still come to the same outcome, but without going through all of the measures that he had. But as time went on in life, I realized that even as a parent, that I was putting on some of those perfection issues onto my kids. And I remember one of my daughters saying to me, I don't think that that's wrong, that you put the pots in this way or that way. And I'm like, no, if you don't put it in that way, then that is wrong. And I had to learn and to accept the fact that that was my own issues of perfectionism that actually came out of some of my own self-worth issues of needing to be accepted and appreciated for what I brought to the table and the way that I brought it to the table. And so a lot of times the con of a perfectionism stems from some other underlying issue where we want to feel appreciated or needed, or we want to succeed in a certain way and be looked at in a certain light, and we feel that only through this way or this method will that be achieved. And that can lead to a lot of anxiety and stress on our part, and lots of anxiety and stress on other people who are having to deal with us. I know something as parents, especially as moms, that you may be able to agree with is when I was married and my children were very little, I wanted them dressed a certain way. And I remember that I laid out the pajamas and all of that. And my ex-husband was like, I'll give them a bath. And whatever happened, I think the pajamas I got for them, some part got wet or whatever the case may be. And then when they came into the living room, they had on mixed match pajamas. And I just had a whole come apart. Like, what in the world? Why would you do? And he's just like, they're just going to bed. I don't care that they're just going to bed. They cannot be mixed matched like that. And I could not rest until I had them on some pajamas that matched. And as a result of that, my ex-husband was like, you know what? Everything I do for the kids, you have a problem with it, and this is wrong, and that's right, and da 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 da. And so he stopped helping as much. And then I was upset by that. But I had to come to understand one reason that he was upset and did not want to help was out of my own issues of needing for everything to look perfect and look right, because if there was a fire or whatever in the middle of the night, the firemen, instead of just worrying about saving us, they were going to be saying, well, this is why the fire started, is because your kids had on mixed match pajamas. So we have to understand where our issue of perfectionism comes from and deal sometimes with those issues, is that we are good enough just for who we are. Now, I'm not saying that we should not do our absolute best in whatever it is that we do. But if it is causing you mental anguish, anxiety, over being overly stressed, and other people are shunning you as a result of it, or they're putting on you far more work than what needs to be put on you, then you may need to go back and evaluate, why is it that I really am interested and it has to be done one way or a certain way, and I have to have perfection it may not be from a healthy place. Having perfectionism also can hinder your well-being. When I say that, as I mentioned, it can cause you anxiety and stress, but it also can affect your health, and it can affect your rest, your diet, all kinds of things. People that have bulimia and anorexia, it comes from a place of not accepting themselves for how they are, and having this outlook of, this is what's going to make me be perfect, and this is what's going to make me look better in people's sight. It destroys your well-being. Not just that, I just want to look good and but it can internally have a long-lasting effect on your health. So it's very important to know that perfectionism can lead to unhealthy decisions that you may make in your life. It can help you. Perfectionism also can lead, as I suggested in the beginning, to unreasonable expectations of others. And sometimes, I would have to remind myself and tell others, this really is my issue, And when I had guests, I like my dishes put in the dishwasher a certain way. And some of my guests noticed that. They would help and they would put the dishes in the dishwasher, and then they would see me sneaking around trying to turn the dishes another way or take them out and put them in. And one of my girlfriends is like, that's why I don't help you in the kitchen, because I know you're not gonna want it this way or that way. What I had to come to understand is some of it was mine. And so I didn't put that on anyone else. If I wanted those dishes a certain way, then that's okay, as long as I don't expect for everybody else and every time, for your family, for your, friends or whatever, that they have to do this a certain way, or it's not going to be good for them or for you. So with the unreasonable expectations, make sure that if it's something that you're trying to work through, or that this is just how I like to do it, that this is just me and I don't have those expectations of others, I promise you the people around you will be happier. And if you do not like the way others do it, then you may have to do it yourself instead of trying to make it something that is necessary for whomever you're involved. So those can be the cons of perfectionism. What are the pros of a perfectionism? Some of the great things about being a perfectionist, as I don't like to use that because I do feel like that no one in the world is perfect. I don't care what it is we do. There's always somebody who can do it better. If not now, later on, they'll come along and do it, or they'll improve on it, whatever the case may be. So I like to say that it's a pro, something that's a positive, when you just do things the best that you know how to do them. And so if I'm at work and I like the files a certain way or whatever, that's okay. And if that works for you, that's a positive. It has been proven that people that are quote unquote perfectionists can be the best leaders that there are in the world. They can also be the worst because they have a tendency to expect that kind of perfectionism or completeness or wholeness, or the higher level to others. But they do make very, very good leaders because they're able a lot of times to see the whole picture, to get the picture and rise to the level of whatever that picture is that is trying to be portrayed. So a perfectionist can be a very excellent leader, and they can inspire others to achieve their best. And with all of us, no matter how many monkish issues we may have, there are some challenges that we all may have. And so we can help others along and say, this was a challenge for me, and I overcame that. And I was able to move to another level because I expected more of myself. I use the example is of Serena Williams, the tennis player, the female tennis player. She talks about how she's a perfectionist and how she can get in her own head and ruin a game by how she thinks or how she feels or whatever. But she says that she started playing better tennis when she stopped concerning herself about the others and what they were doing and how they, and just dealt with her own self and her own levels of achievement, and then setting small goals for herself. So perfection may at one point in time not be that she won the whole match and that she got to this level. It could very well be for that game that she had less errors than ever, or she made more aces. And so she set her level of perfectionism to one that was realistic, and she built on it. And we can share that with others is, yes, I have done all of these good things, but I had to set small goals and appreciate those goals, because one thing that can be a negative about a perfectionist is they never appreciate where they are right now. Even if they have a success, they blow that off. No, it could have been this, that, and the other. And I saw this and I painted that picture, but you see that little mark right there, all of those things. Instead of being able to live in that moment and enjoy that particular success and then move on to the next. So what have we learned about perfectionism is that we need to set in our in our desire to be the best that we can be. Set realistic expectations of yourself and others. Know where the issue comes from, if that perfectionism actually is an issue. Deal with where it came from and why you have such a need to be perfect in whatever area that you're forcing yourself to be perfect in that area in. Set small, attainable goals and appreciate those goals and celebrate those goals. Even though you may have another level, appreciate right where you are right then. Appreciate others and their level of success as well, because we as perfectionists can also be a little negative with others. Oh, that's great, baby, but you know, you could have done this, or maybe you should have hung that there, or that may have done that. Enjoy that success of others and let people be who they are. And then, even though you may keep raising that bar of success in your life, is know that all of us are perfect in some things. And when I say that we're perfect, and some things, you may not do it to a level of perfection of Michelangelo with the painting or whatever, but whatever gift that you have been given, it's perfect for you. I heard a lady on a show the other day, she says, I love my little house. It's not near as big as a lot of other people's houses. It doesn't have near as fancy of things as some other people have, but it's perfect for me. So let's remember that we all have perfect stuff in our lives, and things can be done in a perfect way, but it may never be done to that other higher level, but we can appreciate right where we are.